The moment that I knew God was real. I was 18 years old at this time, and I had also been going to church for about 4 months at this point, consecutively, just trying to investigate Jesus and investigate Christianity. Come March of 2021, I was at a youth group. I wasn't actually participating. I was just kind of helping out around the church with the kids' activities, but I was actively observing the sermon. I had just finished up putting out all of like the little papers and activity stuff for the kids. So I just kind of sat down and was listening to my lead pastor do a sermon for the kids. Again, this was around March. It was really close to Easter at this time. So the whole lesson for that day was surrounded by Jesus's resurrection from the cross, what Easter is. My pastor gets really, really excited when he's preaching. He kind of yells because he just gets so excited and amped up about the topic that he's talking about. He was asking the kids very enthusiastically, saying, how do we know? How do we know that Jesus is who he says he is? There was a moment of silence, and then a kid raised their hand. The pastor goes, yes, Timmy, how do we know that Jesus is who he says he is? And little Timmy goes, the resurrection. And my pastor just yells out, the resurrection! I'm trying to be quiet because my daughter's sleeping. That's how we know. That is how we know that Jesus is who he says he is. He rose from the grave. At that very moment, I kid you not, I was born again. I didn't even know what born again meant, but I was literally born again. When Christians say that unbelievers have blinds on their eyeballs, it's so true. Because at that moment, those blinds literally came off of my eyeballs. And I looked around and everything was just completely different to me. It was like everything made sense. Obviously, I was a new Christian, so I still had a lot of questions. I mean, I still do have a lot of questions, but yet everything makes sense. It was insane. It was like the most radical experience that I have ever had. And at that moment, I gave my life to Christ because I knew he was real, and I knew that he proved that he was God. And obviously there were a lot of other questions shortly after I gave my life to Christ, like how do we know Jesus wasn't lying? How do we know that he actually did rise from the grave? All of these apologetic questions. But anyway, so that is how I knew that God was real. It wasn't because I had a prayer answered. It wasn't because I died and I saw Jesus. It wasn't because I witnessed a miracle. It's simply just the most logical and the most reasonable explanation for this world and how it came to be. And nobody has ever